worldwide computer god secret containment policy. Worldwide. There's no there are no captions for this. It has foul language.
Gangster Computer God Worldwide Secret Containment Policy. Made possible solely by Worldwide Computer God Frankenstein controllers, especially lifelong constant threshold brainwash radio. Quiet and motionless, I can slightly hear it repeatedly. This has saved my life on the streets. 4 billion worldwide population, all living, have a computer god containment policy brain bank brain, a real brain, in the brain bank cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Primarily based on your lifelong...
Okay. Alright, so there's a good stopping point. If you go to watch this, you gotta watch and listen. The visuals really add to it. What you're looking at here, assuming you could hear it, I think you can. There's a guy named
Vietnam.
200. So FrancisEDec. Born in 1926, died in 1996. Was an American lawyer and an outsider, a writer known for his eccentric and often paranoid writings. Born in Hempstead, New York, his life took a tumultuous turn after he was disbarred in 1958 for fraud. Following this, he became infamous for his typewritten diatribes filled with conspiracy theories, which he distributed widely from the late 1960s until his death. So you're talking about for over 30 years, this guy who went through, he served in the army during World War II. He was ostensibly an upstanding citizen, okay? And he, in his writings, he recounted certain aspects of his experience after being targeted because he confronted the justice system. His own, let's see, tell me about his own personal dealings with the law. had a tumultuous relationship with the law, particularly highlighted by his disbarment and subsequent legal troubles. And he was disbarred due to fraud. It doesn't give that much information, but what you can do, what I highly suggest you do if you're an interested person, is go to, I think it showed up on mine. Go to, go watch this documentary at FrancisEDec. Your only hope for a future. Okay. This guy, wild. That part, that first part of that. So the reason that what you're hearing is someone's voice rather than looking at typewritten messages, is that there was a guy in a radio station in New York, I believe. The documentary goes into detail on this, who got a hold of some of his writings and decided to either make a mockery of it or decided to just broadcast the writings themselves. So this guy that you hear is not FrancisEDec. This is a radio announcer reading the things that he wrote. No, what did I do?
You're not going to believe what happened. Tell me everything.
It all started in 1995, and Renewal by Anderson wants to celebrate with you. Save.
Gangster Computer God Worldwide Secret Containment Policy. Made possible solely by Worldwide Computer God Frankenstein Controls, especially lifelong constant threshold brainwash radio. Quiet and motionless. I can slightly hear it repeatedly. This has saved my life on the streets.
So, this was at a time, so like he was disbarred in the late 50s. He wrote his spiels for 30 years during, let's call it, the initial aspects. And you really have to zoom out in terms of, if you want to get into it, in terms of the gradual taking over, let's say, you have to go into, there are multiple things that you can get into, and one really, like, okay, so there's so there's this really far out there idea. Again, you're gonna end up like me if you start to take this stuff at anything greater than face value. But there's something about it, okay? Now, I don't believe anything to be true besides that there is a God. However, there are patterns. On the front of my Facebook page, for instance, you'll see me talking about Marshall McLuhan. There seems to be the possibility that the advent of technology, radio technologies, television, the invention of motion pictures, frame rates, like if you ask me what the greatest weapon, the most powerful weapon ever invented is not a nuclear weapon, it is not the atom bomb, it is not even a form of artillery of any sort. The most powerful weapon is the video camera. It's the ability to produce fictional narratives and place them in the mind of a person and cause them to accept that fiction as a form of reality. So, like, if you, for instance, and I'll just, like, you know, all this stuff. So, like, all of it. You don't know, like, if you want to survive and not be affected by this weapon, then you look at this when you're looking at your screen and you're scrolling. Recognize it as fiction before you do anything else. Remove yourself from it and place it at a distance from your mind and understand it to be what it really is. It is a series of images, and that's true of video, and it's also true of still images on a computer screen. Why are still images on a computer screen a series of images? Because your screen has a frame rate. It's called like 60 hertz. That means 60 times a second. Your screen is refreshing 60 times a second. So the possibility exists. That's what a GIF is. A GIF or a GIF is a short video, but it's a series of images. But even a still image is a series of images. In terms of the way your mind interacts with it, your eyes are looking in 60 times a second, or depending on your frame rate on your device. Some devices even use it as an advertising. Like, let's say you're on an iPhone. Let's be honest, most of you probably are. Or an Android. What is the what is the common frame rate of smartphone screens? 60 hertz, 90 hertz, or 120 hertz. That means that's how many times the flat image is being refreshed. I hope that makes sense if you're not a tech person. If you get into videography, you'll know the difference, the way that each the variety of frame rates affects the way that a video feels in terms of how you experience it. Like, you notice the difference between sports, like when you're watching a basketball game versus when you're watching a film. The difference in the feel of, it's not just you point a camera and get whatever outcome. the frame rate on the camera that's filming the basketball game is higher, and it delivers you more images per second, and it looks more real. And then the common frame rate for film or television is like 24 frames per second. Okay, why am I talking about all this? Because in the mid 20th century, so in the beginning, did I already? I didn't, did I? I started to. Did I? Elders of Zion. Okay, so the Protocols of the Elders of Zion is a fabricated anti-Semitic. Okay, everything's fabricated, and in all honesty, everything's anti-Semitic. So get over that. So let's just skip that part. Just delete that. Is a text that claims to outline a Jewish plan for global domination. You could look it up and read it yourself, but with the things that it outlines, is like a list all, please. List all protocols. Published in Russia in 1903. No. List all the protocols. Okay, summary of the protocols. Protocol 1. The Jewish plan for world domination and the need for secrecy. 2. The importance of controlling the media and public opinion. 3. The use of war and conflict to achieve political goals. 4. The manipulation of financial systems and economies. 5. The establishment of a centralized government and the elimination of national sovereignty. 6. The role of education in shaping public thought and loyalty. The use of propaganda to influence the masses. The creation of social unrest and division among non-Jewish populations. The importance of controlling political leaders and institutions. Okay, it all goes on, and all of it, there's 24, I think. It amounts to the use of technology and communication to spread influence. It's at a certain point, there's mention of specific things that have occurred in the 20th century and the 21st century, like 1903. So let's say you have a plan in 1903, and in 1903, and 122 years later, a substantial amount of that alleged fake fraudulent plan has come to fruition. Okay, fascinating stuff. Now there's also these other ideas about tell me about the hollow moon.
Bed number
200. Oh Lord. There's also if you just go look into am I still streaming? I lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. If you look. No. Look into. Oh, yeah. There you go. It's in my history. Okay, so watch what this guy is amazing. He's been on Joe Rogan a few times. It's good stuff, because what he does is he presents you with the theory and puts all the information there for you, and then at the end he's like, what's true and what's not, debunk or not, like what's okay. This one is actually, there's something about the moon. There really is something about the moon, and nobody, like, factually, scientifically, provably. I mean, if you just in your just observation, your own observation, ignore everything else, go outside, look at the moon, and think about what's factually true about it. It always there's a dark side of the moon. There's no other moon in our solar system that has the density and size, that our moon has in relation to how close it is versus like how it functions to like block the sun during an eclipse, and like the fact of the dark and its rotation, like there's only one side of the moon that faces the Earth at all times, and there's what dark side. So fascinating stuff. You get into it, you're like, what the fuck? And like, if you're of that ilk. So this is there's the coming up of the 20th century, the progress through the 20th century, the gradual progress of technological innovations. First you had the radio, and then you had the motion picture, film, and then as radio still is, in all honesty, I think, and I hope that the radio, like listening to the radio, like getting your information that way versus the eye capture shit that you're watching right now, would hopefully make a comeback. Because if we're going to, we either have to figure out how to integrate or repel. As humans, whatever this is, it's either legitimate, Jews are aliens, or aliens are aliens and Jews are chosen, or whatever. Again, just theories. The elders of Zion chosen to unify. We have the stress test that we're going through right now, and that we really have been for quite a while, is about like figuring out how to become a unified planetary species that is not divided for stupid fucking reasons. Like, there really shouldn't be. You shouldn't be able to pay someone's uncle money to kill his nephew. Now, whether that's true of my case or has ever happened in history, It doesn't matter. That's a believable narrative. And it is so caveman. Like, there's a reason we're not a type 1 civilization yet. We're not even a type 1 civilization. It's because of all this monkey fighting over the ground bullshit. It's so fucking stupid. And so if the ultimate goal is to get to that point, the stress tests that we're failing need to be overcome. And we either have to figure out, as humans, how to push back and take a step back and figure out what we want to do on our own, or we have to integrate this alien technology stuff and go along with their plans, which is, by and large, quite deceptive. I mean, like, are we going to the fucking, are we going to join the Galactic Federation as slaves to a greater species, or are we going to come to a point, develop ourselves to a point that we can sit at the table, not in a cage? I think those are really kind of the two options in this theory, in this realm of hypotheticals. Okay, so FrancisEDec. So you have the Elders of Zion, early 20th century. You have the world wars that really just shuffled a bunch of shit around. Like, if you're gonna look at it outside of the time period and just take a step back and go, okay, what was World War I? What was World War II? Germans took a fucking pretty major hit. Wouldn't you agree? Palestine, like the creation of the State of Israel, like all that mid-20th century stuff. And then you had, in the 40s, not just the World War II, the resolution of World War II, but the beginning of the alien phenomenon, the UFO thing, Roswell. And then you had the proliferation of the vacuum tube fucking televisions, the cathode ray tube televisions, and then you have more and more. And at that point, you still have civilized discourse on public television, like ABC, NBC, CBS. The nightly news with the Mike Wallace and whoever else, Edward Murrow. Like, you still had intelligent people broadcasting the news to you. And then at night you would also have, like, nighttime television would involve things like what in the honky dory is happening here? Uh-oh. Who was the Fountainhead? Oh, Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand. Date of TV interview. 60 Minutes. Oh, it was way back? It was only in the 70s? Well, regardless. Oh, and it was with Mike Wallace. Look at that. So you had more civilized discourse on television in the mid-20th century. And can you 1980 and 1977. Damn, I thought these were older. So Marshall McLuhan was a media critic. So there's this period. It was like I would say a peak in the late, so it would have been after the 50s, so 50s, 60s, and 70s. There's a lot of different things going on. You had these guys, like intellectuals and media critics and things like that. Marshall McLuhan played a major role in critiquing the manner by which these things are infiltrating and interacting and interfacing with the human mind, the general population. Now, what's fascinating to me about Mr. Deck and this video in particular, the Gangster Computer God Worldwide Secret Containment Policy, is that he's sort of telling he's giving a perspective on all of these concepts. So I'm actually going to play the whole thing. Trigger warning, there's some language in here. It's going to fuck with your head if you really... It'll trip you the fuck out. So if you're high, beware. But he says things like the dark side of the moon we never see. You have a brain bank city on the far side of the moon. There's this plan. He talks about Jews. He talks about worldwide plan to interbreed everybody and make a race of basically dumb single race people, which is from his perspective, very limited, targeted, freaking out, paranoid without the positive. It's just that is the natural, and I think is a natural, think of it as an appropriate response to starting to realize these things. The human response is to go, what the fuck, everybody wake up, you're sheeple. There's something true about that. And you see it a lot. I might be one of the first, not go the Alex Jones route. I might be one of the first to go, I get it. If what you want is a universality to human consciousness, in order for there not to be infighting, in order to produce a starfaring species, you're gonna have methods. There's gonna be necessary method. The deception aspect is what I'm grappling with a lot to try to understand. The secrecy, deception stuff. But the most likely, using Occam's razor, the most likely explanation for that is that humans can't be trusted with the truth. Like that movie, A Few Good Men. You can't handle the truth, and that's a problem. That's a major problem. And so that's what if the general population can't handle the truth, but you need to try to farm them. I get why. I get it. I hate that it's being done so persistently to me, but I get why secret societies, I get why all that stuff. So I mean, I have my own perspectives on, like, of having, like, so general sort of acceptance of this shit, but I'm empathetic towards all perspectives, and this one is fascinating because he's like, rah. So I'm gonna play the rest of it.
4 billion worldwide population, all living, have a...
So
cities on the far side. far side of the moon we never see.
So,
Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the moon we never see. Big cities on the far side of the mo
muted the wrong fucking... That's hilarious. So I've just been sitting here for 5 minutes with no sound. Oh. Oh my God. Well, you know what? I'm not going to do it again. So... Oh my God. Well, regardless. Regardless, you should go watch it. And if you want a trippy experience, watch it while you're high. I feel so fucking dumb that I muted the wrong one. So I've been sitting here with just and look. So he talks about, and again, this is from the perspective of a very paranoid, like 30 years of a guy who initially went through a confrontation with people in the justice system, who was like so like persecuted by his audacity to fucking go against these fucking people, who's like the torture, the psychological torture of calling out, telling the truth, speaking truth to power. The most powerful people are the people who control the lawyers. There's hands down the truth. People with law degrees sign certificates. People with doctors. So in there he talks about like vicious Jew doctors, and like there's other things that the radio broadcaster read that he wrote as well. Then go into it's just fascinating stuff. Some of the details of this stuff. So the thing is, like, man, I'm really bummed out about the fact that I fucked that. I fucked that up. In fact, I'm gonna just stop because my computer's doing some stupid shit anyway. My computer doing some stupid stuff. What's happening? What's happening? Meow. Oh God. That just feels so dumb. Anyway, go watch Gangster Computer God and the Y-Files Moon series. And start thinking about, like, what is this place? What is this Matrix shit? And they're telling us, like, because the Jews control Hollywood, right? I don't think it's all. I think it's like Carl Jung's statement about in order to reach heaven, you have to reach down to hell. There are greater realms that can be understood and integrated, and the puppeteers might not be pure evil. It might be evil has a magnitude bias. So I feel so dumb about that. So evil, when your experience of contentment, like of your daily existence, whether you're joyful, in a state of pure ecstasy, or just blasé, no real drama, if something bad happens, something like the bad thing has so profound of an effect. And I think that in order to, let's say, evolve, we need to, and I think that's part of the reason why all the evil, we need to integrate and desensitize ourselves to certain things, not to the point that we can't experience joy, but to the point that the phenomenon of magnitudinal bias against bad or because of bad, like one apple spoils the bunch, like that stuff, we've got to be able to figure that thing out. And there's got to be a way, psychologically, spiritually, all that stuff. And I do think on some level it involves being desensitized. Somehow being not easily triggered emotionally, becoming anti-fragile. I guess that's the point. But yeah, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing because that shit was so dumb. I thought that I was playing the audio for the video, but instead I was just sitting here with my mic on and the video muted. So that's fucking stupid. Anyway, time to go. Goodbye.